Hi, welcome back. I've got another in the travel series for you. This time I'm going to be talking about Poland. I've just got back from Warsaw. I've been there a few times now, so I've had a bit of experience of the people, the culture, the place, and I feel like I can give you guys a bit of a rundown. This one is also very interesting from a personal perspective. I live not very far from the town of Boston in the UK. The town of Boston became reasonably famous during Brexit because it was, I think, the most divided town in the whole of the UK, depending on the vote, which way people went. That was largely because it has a huge contingent of Polish people, I think the most in the entire country in terms of, per head. So it's been fraught with problems in the local community. There's been a lot of news stories and stuff generated on the back of this, because there's a lot of local resentment, that the Polish people originally had a community in Boston because Boston is kind of the home in Lincolnshire to the main bulk of the agricultural work. And the Polish people have a long history of coming over to Lincolnshire, helping out in a seasonal work type way. During the freedom of movement, that actually changed from a seasonal work to people coming over and staying here full time, working in factories or doing the seasonal work and then finding some other work for the rest of the year. Some still come over from Poland and go back again, but it did change the demographic quite a lot in terms of people that were staying here permanently, because obviously it was easier for them to do so. That kind of changed the face of Boston a little bit. Obviously a lot of Polish shops sprang up, a lot of Polish businesses started, there was a lot more Polish people living there year round, and some of the residents became a little bit resentful of that. I feel I've got some relevant information about that from the time I've spent in Poland as well. I've also worked in the UK with a lot of Polish people and had a fantastic experience with that. I've also had some not so fantastic experiences with Polish people that probably didn't come here to work, so I will talk a bit about that as well. Warsaw is probably one of the most up and coming places in Europe at the moment. It is absolutely huge what they've done there. The amount of business investment, the amount of infrastructure they've built, it's completely changed over the last 10 years that I've been visiting it. When I first started going there, it wasn't really heavily developed. It was kind of pleasant but very basic, let's say. There wasn't that much going on there. They had a few factories and it felt a little bit depressing, I'll be honest. Having been there recently, completely changed altogether. There's a lot to do, very, very nice places to stay. There's a thriving business community there now, and buildings are just going up all over the place. And they're doing a really good job with the architecture as well. It looks very nice at the same time. One thing I will say about Poland, if you've come from England like I have, it is very nice and clean. There's hardly any crime. Now, if you talk to the Polish people, they will say that's thanks to their tough immigration policies and their very tough police. They don't tolerate criminal behaviour, and they certainly don't tolerate people coming in from other countries and doing anything criminal whatsoever. They would literally be out on their ear as soon as they even thought about doing even a mild offence like shoplifting. They would be straight back out of the country again. So I quite like that hardline approach, and I've got to say, walking around there in Warsaw at night or any time of day, I didn't at all feel like I should be concerned. Obviously they have some crime. It's not some sort of utopia, but it's greatly reduced. If you're someone who's walked around London, you're certainly not going to suddenly have your phone stolen out of your hands. And I even heard a lot of stories from the Polish people I was working with about items that had been returned from, they'd left their phone or their wallet down on a desk or a wall, and it had actually made its way back to them. No one had taken it away. So pretty impressed from that perspective. Price wise, it was really good. I stayed in a very, very nice hotel, and I think it cost me about £80 a night. To put that into perspective, if I stayed in that quality of hotel in London, it would be about £300 to £400 a night. So a huge difference in what you get for your money. Eating out was the same. We ate out, I think, 4 of us ate out, and it cost us about 60 UK pounds equivalent, and the food was of a very good standard. If you did that in the UK to that standard of food, you'd be looking at, in central London, you'd be looking at like £200 easily. So I was really impressed. That was the centre of Warsaw. These were quite touristy restaurants we were going in. We weren't having to dip out to the outskirts. I was told that it would be even cheaper if we did that, but we literally went straight along the kind of main tourist area, went into a restaurant that looked nice. So there was no effort on our part to meet any sort of budget. It just so happened to be good value. Same with the beer, same with the drinks, all good value compared to the UK. I was pleasantly surprised. Now it's February at the moment. It was actually really cold when we were there. It was like between -10 and -2 most evenings, and even throughout the day. One of the days I don't think it got above -8. That was fairly unusual for this time of year, I was told. The week before it was actually +10, so we were a little bit unlucky there, but it's worth just checking the weather before you go, because it would have been deeply uncomfortable for us if we hadn't have packed some decent gear. Traditional Polish food is very warming, very hearty. It has kind of a bad reputation in the UK. That's maybe because people always talk about the Polish people that come here, and some of them have ate some carp from fisheries, and that hasn't gone down too well with the fisheries. That is a traditional food in Poland. It's not something you see on a lot of menus. I think it's more like a Christmas time thing that you would have. But there is a lot of kind of stews, like potato and meat type stews. They are quite salty. I think salt is definitely a tradition to add to food in Poland. They have like various dried sausages, various normal sausages, and then various meat dishes, all of which have quite a lot of salt in. We also had a really nice meat dish that was not unlike Schäufele from Germany. It was like a pork knuckle that had a lot of very soft fat on it and cut through really easily. So even though there was quite a lot of fat there, it was a bit like a really good quality pork belly. The fat is actually really nice if it's well cooked and if it's nice and soft, and this was obviously slow cooked, really tasty. So if you imagine kind of meaty comfort foods, then you'll be pretty happy in Poland. I jokingly asked if they had any vegetarian options in a couple of the restaurants, and they looked at me like I was absolutely insane. I did see one vegetarian restaurant as I walked around, but that is not a popular thing in Poland. And we get onto the kind of culture here. You know, the Polish people are quite a tough people. You know, they don't really tolerate all this kind of left-leaning wokery that we seem to have embraced over in many parts of Europe and in the UK. They're not into, you know, gluten intolerance, veganism, yoga classes. That is low on the priority of most of the Polish people I met. They are quite resilient, tough people, and it takes a while because of that to really get to know them well. I think they respect toughness in one another, and they've got a very can-do attitude. You know, they're very keen to get work done and to do it to the best of their ability. And they kind of eyed me with a little bit of suspicion at first, until we started working together. We started to, you know, suss each other out, and then they were incredibly nice to me, you know, very friendly indeed. And on the face of it, you know, people are generally friendly. So I would say that if you're going to Poland for a holiday experience, unlike me, I was working, but if you're going there for a holiday, everyone in the shops is friendly. Everyone has a really good grasp of English, as far as I could work out, much better than my Polish anyway, but everyone was friendly to me. But if you really want to kind of make friends with people and have a kind of deeper connection, it's going to take you a while, just because their culture isn't about just being shallow and kind of suddenly opening yourself up to one another. It takes them a little while to get to that, and I'm a little like that as well, so that worked out just fine for me. I spoke to a lot of the Polish guys I know about the situation over here and explained some of the problems we had. They thought that was hilarious, because it was very well known to them that there was kind of two distinct categories of people that left Poland to go to places like the UK. There was one category of people that, as I mentioned, wanted to come to the UK because they were hard workers. At the time, wages in Poland were extremely low. The zloty, their currency, was doing very poorly indeed. So you would get a job in Poland in a factory or something like that, and it wouldn't really be enough to sustain you and your family. So the option they had was to come to a place like the UK where they could earn considerably more money for similar factory type jobs or agricultural type jobs, fruit picking, vegetable picking, all that kind of thing. And then they could send money back to their family and sustain themselves in England at the same time. So it made economic sense for them to do that. At the same time, there were people in Poland that saw the freedom of movement situation as an opportunity. You know, that these people had had maybe quite tough upbringings, and they saw the English as a little bit weaker, maybe a bit naive, a bit kind of blue-eyed, and they thought we could go over there and take some advantages, which some of them did, you know. And it was commented to me, a lot of petty criminals and people that were not doing well in Poland because the laws and the police were very, very harsh to them over there. They thought they could come and ply their petty criminal trades in the UK. So the decent Polish people were actually very happy about that, because it basically eradicated all the crap they didn't want, and we got that. We also, unfortunately, you know, that was bulked in with people that came here really wanting to work. So they got stigmatized. You know, in a place like Boston, a lot of the English people that were there kind of hated all the Polish people because a percentage of them were into this petty crime, were not interested in doing any actual legitimate work. They were claiming off the system, and they were selling drugs, you know, knocking out dodgy cars, all this kind of thing. So it kind of stigmatized everyone from Poland, which I felt sorry for a lot of them, because they really came over here to do some decent work, which they had done for many years, and they have a long history of doing that. So that answered a lot of my questions about why it was such a polarizing community, you know, that we have in Boston, why they're getting such a bad rap. And it is because, you know, a lot of them that came here were criminals. And the Polish guy said to me, you know, we would never tolerate that the other way around. You know, if you sent a bunch of criminals to us, as soon as they put a step out of line, you know, they would probably get a pretty hard slap, and then they would be sent straight back. Whereas in England, we would say, oh, you know, maybe they've had a tough time, and pat them on the head and let them out of the police cells and say, please don't do it again. And of course, they go and do it again. So not ideal. And it's the fact that we're being taken advantage of because we have such weak regulation. I don't think it's anything specifically to do with that culture. I think any culture that comes here, you're going to have two polarizing types of people that are drawn to come to a country like the UK. There's going to be people that see legitimate financial business opportunities, which we want obviously, and there's going to be people that are a little bit more predatory and see us as weak, or they're opportunists that can't abuse things in their own country any further, so they're choosing another place to go. Now, the Polish are actually moving back to Poland in droves now, because the zloty, the currency, is going up. It's doing quite well. The place is actually really nice to live in. The housing is comparatively cheap compared to England. Everything is reversed. You know, England is going massively downhill. We're looking at taxing the hell out of a lot of our businesses, so that's going to put pressure on them maybe not to employ these seasonal workers, or certainly not so many of them. Farmers are getting a lot of pressure. Factories are getting a lot of pressure. We're starting to see some of those closing down now and actually open up in places overseas, probably places like Warsaw. You know, that's attracting a lot of new business. So we're actually seeing the reverse effect, and I think over the next few years, if the country continues to go downhill at the rate that it is at the moment, it will have an impact on immigration. Unfortunately, it will have an impact on all the good immigrants that have come here to do some decent work, and they will up sticks and go and do their decent work elsewhere. The Polish are very concerned about the Ukrainian war. You know, that's a big topic. If you go over there at the moment, because of their proximity to Russia, they're very, very friendly with Ukraine. They're big supporters of Ukraine, and they've obviously got close proximity to that whole situation, so they're naturally incredibly nervous, because their first thought is, well, if Ukraine goes down, maybe we could be next. So they spend a lot of money on defence. They have one of the highest defence expenditures in the whole of Europe. So that is a big topic of conversation if you go over there. The city was beautifully decorated, and I tried to ask some Polish people, why have we got all these lights on, what's going on? A lot of them just shrugged their shoulders and were like, it's just something we do. And it seemed like it was Christmas. They even had a couple of guys walking up and down the street dressed as Santa. One was drinking vodka at the same time. He actually asked if we could go and buy him some more. So I don't know if they were official Santas, kind of strange. And I even asked them, why are we doing Christmas in February? Why are all the Christmas lights everywhere? They had a little car, I'll chuck up a picture, it's got some like Christmas parcels on top of it. The whole street was illuminated, really, really nicely done. The kids were running around loving it, but I just wondered what was the deal in the middle of February. I have no idea, and I still don't understand. Some Polish people literally told me they had no clue why it was happening, so that even they didn't understand what that was all about. But I enjoyed it nonetheless. I would thoroughly recommend a trip to Poland. I'll definitely be going again for work and will enjoy it, as I did this time. And I would suggest you guys go and check it out. Warsaw's definitely worth a look. As I said, really, really good value. Might be a little nicer in the summer when things are a little warmer, but they have some beautiful shops there as well. They had a load of high-end shops, Hermes, Rolex, all that kind of thing. So if you're into your fashion shopping and stuff, the prices again were actually a little better than what I would expect to see in the UK, France, places like that. And it's definitely worth going over there and seeing if you can get any bargains. And it's certainly nice to walk around the shops and not be worried that someone's about to whack you over the head and steal your watch or handbag. So that would be a big draw. I would seriously consider moving to Poland, seeing how far they've come, and they're on an upward trajectory in terms of infrastructure build, in terms of business. It really does look at the moment like it's the land of opportunity in Europe. And that tells you something. The government traditionally there have had some very, very strict policies. And actually, if you go there, you will find that they're a country that's doing incredibly well. So those strict policies have done good for them, whilst other places which have had much less strict policies are literally going down the pan. So to me, that answered a lot of the questions I had. I'd seen some people criticising the politicians of Poland, suggesting that they were extreme right wing, and I spoke to the Polish guys about this and they laughed and said, look, we're nationalists, we are patriotic, we're very proud of our country, we're proud of our heritage. Why does the rest of the world think it's racist to be proud of your own heritage and to want to protect your heritage? And I utterly agree with that sentiment, that you can have immigration, legal immigration, but you should be able to protect your heritage just like we should in the UK. It shouldn't have to change into just a melting pot of every different nationality on the planet so that people can feel happy about that. I don't know why that makes a place better. It's nice that you can invite people, but it should still remain, the culture of that country as it was. It shouldn't be changing. Let me know your thoughts down below. I'd be fascinated to hear them. If you've been to Poland and had a good time like me, or if you had any issues over there at all. Did you find it safe? Did you think it was safer than London? What did you think of the prices? Give us a shout in the comments. I'll be fascinated to hear your views. Thanks a lot for watching. I'll catch you all next time.